just because we can.
It sounds so biological. Streaming, don't you think?
Yeah.
I was streaming today. Ugh. From where?
I'm following two mice, one that's a projection and one that's real.
Don't do that.
Right, okay. So
Advertisement time.
yes, advertisement. Oh, that's Ready Player One. Are you going to see that?
No. Yes,
Yeah, I
of course.
want to see this one.
I'm going to see it. The book was good. I suspect the movie could be a complete cock up. But
Plenty of nostalgia, 80s.
Nice truck.
yeah. Okay, 1 minute till transmission, but we are of course already transmitting.
Feels like Wayne's World. 3, 2, 1.
That's too much
Yeah,
pressure.
we don't have anything cool like a guitar riff.
We
can
need something.
play.
We need a guitar riff.
You could do that. You
Could.
could bring in the guitar and do that.
Yeah, that wouldn't feel silly at all.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Okay, so ready to start.
Is there any countdown or something?
Is there any countdown?
I did.
No,
you
I
wanna do
don't
that
have the
again?
seconds up. Okay, it's now hit 1 p.m. So 1 p.m. New Zealand time. So hi there, I'm Brook.
That means it's Twitch time.
It is Twitch time. This is Margaret and this is Sergi. Nearly introduced you the other way around. And we're from Stickmen
Easy
Media.
mistake.
And we are streaming the development of our game After the Light, a zombie survival game.
Who survives?
I am going to start the movie in the background, and Sergi is going to tell us about, if you remember last week, we were, was it last week or earlier this week?
Yeah, last week.
Last week,
Friday.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were basically watching the sculpt of this zombie called Cross-Eyed Joe. And we're going to actually complete that process today. So, without any further ado, there we go. It's starting.
Yeah. Well,
Super fast, Sergi.
Yeah.
Sergi just rocketed through this. as you
Super
can see.
Sergi
yeah.
again.
This is just a rapid view about how the model looks, because this was the end of the sculpt.
This is not rapid Sergi. This is your normal speed of
Yeah, I know,
of
but
work.
I didn't want to say that in public. So yes, so yeah, here we start with the next phase that we can see Maya. So what we do here is just taking by parts of the model, taking the high resolution model that is the current sculpt. We take this model and we send it to Maya, and we start with retopology. Retopology is the stage where we have to make this model suitable for game engines. So we cannot use this one because it's millions of polygons that will kill the machine, or at least the GPU. And so we need to make a model suitable for games, in this case for PC. So here I'm encountering just a small problem with his face. There is some kind
there are a couple of problems with his face, to be fair.
yes, an extra problem with his face. In this case is the jaw. We have all those holes.
Got some holes in there.
Yeah, it's not the holes. It's just there is back face. So there are faces that are clipping. With,
Oh, okay.
yeah, when I was sculpting, I just didn't care too much about his inner mouth. So yeah, there is some small issues that I am trying to just fix. So after this fixing, I will start with making the low poly model for the head.
Okay.
I always start with the head. I don't know. For me, the head is the place where you can concentrate more geometry, or you can just be more free.
Okay.
When you're building.
I'll just fix a mistake from yesterday too. So when we were talking with Linda yesterday about rigging a zombie, she talked about the high poly model, and I assumed she was talking about this sculpt, but in fact she was talking about the game model. She was calling that the high poly one because she had produced an even lower poly version for actually fitting the armature to, or fitting the rig to. Sorry, carry on, Sergi.
Yeah. Yes, so what we do in here is still fixing, I think. those issues with the head, with the jaw.
Mm-hmm.
Just polishing a little bit because, of course, when fixing that, you just smooth it out everything, so you can see that you lost some details in the face.
You want those nice desiccation lines around the mouth,
Yeah.
and I can see you.
So there's still some small issues in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was a little bit of fixing those problems. It's the only problem I encountered when doing the rotopology for this guy. So that was a good sign anyway. So yes, it's in the meantime, yes. So what we saw yesterday was the proxy model that Linda made.
Mhm.
It's made for rigging. So directly in this case, what I produce is directly the in-game model from the high-resolution mesh. That when we usually speak about high resolution, we always think about millions of polygons and
Mm-hmm.
lots of geometry. So in this case, yes.
So is that the accepted terminology for Linda's reduced polygon model is proxy model?
Yeah, proxy model will be the most common used terminology for that.
Okay.
But she was right when she said height, because when she's rigging, she's using two models, so
Yeah.
she has to differentiate one model to the
The
other.
proxy
So
from the high poly,
yeah,
but it's not this high poly. It's actually
it's
just the game model.
exactly, it's the
Yeah.
in-game model. But when I speak about height, for me height is directly the
This
Yeah,
isn't
it's cool.
confusing at all.
yeah, because the different departments has different meanings. But yeah, we still see some.
Okay, we can see lots of improvements to the face there. So those
Yes.
Super Sergi's speeding through it.
those black areas of the model, the parts being fixed.
Hmm.
What did you say was wrong with them again? So the back plane clipping or something?
Yes, there was. As you can see, the mouth has an interior,
Mm-hmm.
so we can see faces. It's not double faced. It's currently geometry that is inside the mouth.
Yep.
So what is happening here is that that mouth is clipping with the exterior mouth because they are different planes.
Mhm.
Yep.
So they are crossing together, and we can see the back faces that they are not currently displayed in Maya.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So yeah, but I think that this is the end, and here I fix finally the model, and I can start working with a small black patch. But yeah, I just try to isolate with GBrush that it's more easier to see what's the
Yeah.
what
And I guess you don't have to be too careful with the inside of the mouth, because we're actually going to do ambient occlusion inside the mouth so that it's fairly dark in there,
yeah.
regardless of the
Yeah,
external
it's not
lighting. Yeah.
necessary to put too many details.
Yeah.
So because you have the teeth, and as you say, you have the ambient occlusion maps, the real time and the baked one, both
Mhm.
of them that it's applied together. So yes, here I think that we finally have his beautiful face.
He's
yeah.
a handsome man.
Yes, I love. Yeah, it's,
Where
can't
do
say
you come
that
from?
because that
Cross-eyed
would
Joe.
be like cheating my wife. So yes, here we can see this is the process of rotopology. Here it starts. I usually use Quad Draw in Maya. That is a very powerful tool for this,
Mhm.
for directly modeling with having you a high resolution surface in the background.
Yep.
And this is a very, as I said, this is a very important step, because here this is the output of this will be the final in-game model.
Yep.
So fuck it up here, and it's all downhill.
Yes.
So how much of this
No
is
pressure
automatic?
at all.
No.
How much of this is automatic with a decimation tool, and how much of it's actually manual?
Yeah, that's a good question, because sometimes I try to make some kind of automatic decimation with ZBrush, but
Mhm.
usually, it's very dirty. You have lots of different bad loops or things like that.
Yeah.
that you
So the edge loops, the important parts for
Yes.
actual animation, the edge loops get stuffed up by automatic.
No. You have a base automatic, but you have to make it manually to make it perfect.
Okay.
So because automatic, you can do it, but usually it needs some cleanup
Yeah.
after that.
Can I ask a really stupid question? Because it may be that not everybody knows what is an edge loop.
Yes. An edge loop is basically, let me try to explain that in English, but that's
Just do it in Spanish. It'll be fine.
That's an unexpected question.
Do it in Spanish.
No.
It'll make as much sense.
No, because nobody will understand me.
And they may not anyway.
No. Yeah, that's
Take
true.
a bit.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, the edge loop is basically what I'm doing now.
Yep,
So-
that's an edge loop.
Yes, it's just trying to make circular faces, or,
Mhm.
Mhm.
edges to simulate the anatomy, the real anatomy. So that's easier for the animator in this case to animate the eyes or the neck if we have the correct topology of those edges. This is a good example because we are seeing this on screen now for the eye. I'm doing this kind of circle with the eye.
Yeah.
And
So you're aiming to literally close the loop.
exactly.
In that, yeah.
That's literally what it means. But yes, this is very useful for rigger and animator because it's what naturally our bodies will do.
So edge loops become very important at the highly mobile areas, so next to joints and around the eyes and around the mouth, so that you've got lots of movement in there without actually distorting the model. So one of the things you get if you don't have proper edge loops, like on your elbows and stuff, is you get that pipe bending problem that we were talking about the other day.
Absolutely, yes.
So yeah, edge loops are very important, and of course if you've got a tool, if you just tried to automatically decimate the model, it can actually ruin your edge loops. So you do need to go through manually and fix them up.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I like to build in manually with the head, just mostly head, because when you make automatically, maybe you can spend more time tweaking the model from zebra eyes, depending on how it was made, than doing from scratch directly. That because as you saw, I know that this is very fast forward speed, but you can see that I'm putting some points and
Not fast at all, Sergi. This is your normal runtime, surely.
I see it slow now.
You slowed it down so that we can see the detail.
Yeah. I was in the kitchen. In this moment, I was in the kitchen.
Right. Oh,
this
it was
is an
doing it on
automatic mode.
That's
Yes,
impressive.
I just script in Maya.
So good.
Made in Mel.
So good.
For me. So yes, I play in symmetry like when we saw the sculpt. It's the same here. We use symmetry to match the other side, and but this model has some asymmetry. It's not exactly symmetry. I think that when I finish the head, I will just or I'm doing it on the fly. I can't remember. Yeah, maybe I'm doing on the fly.
So we mentioned that previously, that it's often easier to design half a face essentially and have the changes reflected on the other half of the face, and then later go back and produce the asymmetrical parts,
Exactly.
the differences between the two sides of the face. So
Now here I'm closing the head. It's the final part for the back of the head. So I'm just seeing the topology, if it's right, and if I can just. It's like a puzzle game. This. I really like this part of the of my job because I feel like you're making some kind of Sudoku.
Yeah. It's all got to come out right.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle, and I really like it. It's entertaining. I really love this stage. So you have to think for each character. How will the character move? What loops do you need? I don't know. It's like it sounds weird, but it's like talking to him.
Yeah. No,
But
I
yes,
get it.
it does sound weird. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds completely weird. I know that. So yes, I'm just closing the front of the head, and I just move to more of the eyes. I like to make patches, so because it's pretty important to me to isolate the loops first, so I can then connect those loops with the rest of the geometry that I produced earlier. So this is very important. As you can see, there is lots of edges that they are stick together in there. I try to relax all of them to make the geometry more even and relaxed, and try.
What do you mean by relaxed, Sergi?
Yeah, relaxed is having this more or less the same space between edges in different faces, so you can see uneven geometry or polish or tidy or
Sort
something
of
like that.
even distribution.
Exactly. That's.
So yeah, because I was seeing little triangles and all sorts of things in there, and you've sort of evened it out so that most of those polygons are around the same size. And
Yes, trying to. It depends on how many details you are working, but yes, that's the theory. So I'm just trying to more or less expand the rest of the geometry to the rest of this part of the body. So at the moment I am doing the parts individually. Start with this, and I will move to another one. But in this stage, yes, that I try to focus in just one part, finish that part.
You've got the whole focus word down now.
Yeah,
You've
I know.
you've worked on that one.
No, don't laugh, but I have been training at home.
Oh, that's
Really?
fantastic.
Yes, I have been training at home, and now I don't say fuck you anymore.
Oh, fuck yes. Fuck yes.
Fuck yous. And,
That's awesome.
it's like the hate map.
Yeah.
Hate map.
Yeah, it's an important one.
It's I feel improved myself when
Yeah.
I just realized I said fuck us.
Yeah. Fuck yes. Yeah.
Fuck yous.
Yeah.
It sounds weird now to me as well.
Oh, good. You've leveled up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to miss that though.
It's all the time. Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you.
For fuck's sake, fuck you.
For fuck's sake.
It's fucking hot in here.
Yeah.
Just
Here
saying.
is a good example of lot of some faces that are together. I just merging some edges,
Okay.
so to make the distribution more even. And yeah, I just reserve the most complex part. This is the asymmetrical part, the nose, for example. And I try to reserve those ones for the last,
Mm-hmm.
so I can have the symmetrical first and then all the asymmetry later. And
Yeah.
yes, this is the nose.
Yeah, I think in the original concept, he's got one side of his nose is actually much longer than the other
Yeah.
side in terms of the hole.
Yes.
Creepy fuck.
Yeah. As well as being cross-eyed.
Cross the ears. Yes.
So I think the three creepiest factors about him are that asymmetrical nose,
Hmm.
his cross-eyedness, and the lank corpse hair, basically,
Yeah,
that he's got on his head.
It's thin hair.
Have we worked out how to actually get that thin corpse hair
Yes.
happening?
Yes, this will happen in texture phase.
Okay.
So I will use texture planes for that and use substance with a new generator that I got.
Okay.
So I will be able to produce the hair, and I expect good results. This is the first time I will do it with substance, but I have good hopes for that. So
Oh, very good.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an important one. It's
Hmm.
it's got the thing that gives me the creeps, like when Ricky Gervais does that character of his,
Oh,
the,
Derek.
well, yes, Derek, but also the autograph hound. He does that, and he brushes his hair over, and it looks slicked down, and all the rest of it, and greasy.
Yeah, it's
And it always creeps me out.
That guy's a genius. At
And
creep.
this guy's sort of got that because he's got corpse hair. It's lank, and it sort of sits really close to his skull. And
and looks
Yeah.
dead. looks dead. And
yes, he
as
does
it
look
indeed
dead.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Be fucking weird with a full head of.
Yeah, I
Healthy
remember
hair.
now. Yes, I reserve the interior of the mouth. I reserve that as the last step because has very this character has very how to say that, narrow lips or something like that. So
Mhm.
you have to be careful where to add the faces.
Yeah.
As we can see here, another example with the mouth. We can see edge loops again
Yes.
around the mouth. So the animator just put the
bone in there
the
so he
bone
can
there
open and
exactly. So it's much easier, as well as for the neck. We can see the lobes in the neck,
yeah.
and just relaxing and smoothing out the geometry a little bit.
Now, in this stage, of course, reducing the polygons, we are actually losing a lot of detail, but we do have a clever way of getting the detail back, and that's
Yeah.
with normal maps, which
Exactly.
we actually bake off your high poly version.
Yes, this is something we'll see just after finish the head. We will see how we can recover all that detail from the high poly using just a normal map that it's only a RGB trick made in textures. So you can see the direction of the normals completely different from the original ones. And here what I am doing is just taking the teeth and gums. Yeah. This is I just
Fantastic.
yeah I first add this one. This is from the genetic zombies. I was trying.
I really want your job.
Yeah, but I have nightmares at night. But yeah, it's a bait.
Do you have zombie nightmares?
Yeah, sometimes.
Really? Oh, okay.
Wow.
Sometimes. But I see the zombies in wireframe. It's even scarier. Right? We should have
fantastic.
making some a game like this in wireframe.
Wireframe zombies.
Yeah,
That is awesome.
yeah.
Is it scarier?
It's terribly scary.
So we should actually do a game with wireframe zombies.
I think that yes, it will work.
Fuck yeah.
And the title is perfect. Wireframe zombies.
Wireframe.
Sounds commercial.
Yeah.
Fucking
Yeah.
eh. So cool.
It's another idea. So yes, finally the interior, that was my nightmare. So just trying to
literally.
put big faces and sketching everything fast so that I can just get rid of the mouth as fast as possible, because it's very difficult to work in some areas in the bottom, this part of the jaw. And I think that finally
Yeah, this is a pain. You're forever turning it backwards and
Yes.
forwards, trying to find a way
Yes.
you can actually get to where you want to be.
in Maya, because in ZBrush, in ZBrush you can hide lots of geometry just selecting and with different lasso tools, but in Maya is a little bit more tricky for that. So I have to go carefully and build my geometry as careful as possible. And because this mouth, it looks symmetrical, but it's not. It has some asymmetrical parts as well.
Kind of looks like Homer Simpson at the moment.
Yes, it's just what?
Looks like Homer Simpson at the moment.
Yeah,
In a bad moment.
in a bad moment.
Ah.
Yes, the coal and drugs.
Yeah.
It's terrible. That makes a zombie. So yes, it's just. I think that this is UV mapping. I use 3D
okay.
code. We have the head here. I play with symmetry in 3D code. I start making the
That's
the breaks.
nightmarish.
No, this is a very fun.
No, the bit on the right, very
Yeah.
nightmarish.
Yeah, that one. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whole skin thing
Yes,
laid out.
that's
Kind of
really-
creepy.
Yeah.
So just to explain, UV mapping determines how we're going to map each polygon in that model to a texture
Exactly.
that you've
Yeah.
actually created. So
It's like, as Margaret said, it's laying down something and make two-dimensional things from
Mhm.
a 3D object, something like that. So yes.
It's like a sewing pattern, isn't it?
Sorry.
It's like a sewing pattern.
Yes. It's
So
just-
you know the
yes.
sleeve gets laid out and the
Mhm.
front and the back and the collar.
Yeah.
So there in that window, we're actually looking at the 3D head, actually laid out as a 2D
Yeah.
Puts the
And-
lotion on
2D
the
thing
skin.
that we can then paint on essentially to create the textures. Yeah.
And now this is the normal map face.
Oh, dear.
So I'm just adding the high resolution, the low resolution, and with this viewer I can use a cage to make to just be able. It's inflating the model, so I can take all the information from the high poly
hmm
and project directly to the low one. We will see the normal map generating.
Okay.
So what I do now is assign the material, search for the texture, and apply the texture, and that's it.
Okay, and there we can see the detail that we actually lost when we came down to the low poly thing, being
Yes.
added back to it as a texture. So yeah, normal map's really clever stuff, because the normal map's really telling light which way to actually bounce off the surface, and therefore creating grooves and lines and all the rest of it in the surface.
Yes,
Yeah.
all the micro detail of the surface you can just put it back again, and we are still with the old teeth. I didn't like this one, but I have to say that I was a little bit lazy for the teeth, so I was just trying to take the original ones from the generic zombies that
Yeah.
they are more low poly. So I said I can use those ones and try to fit, but I didn't like. So I just went to my original plan. So get rid of those ones and get from the original from King Leon. That is the one that I have in the sculpt,
Okay.
and work with that directly.
So I can see that a bunch of people have joined. Hello. So I'm Margaret, this is Brook, and this is Sergi, and we're talking about developing our zombie game After the Light. And Sergi is talking us through. What are you talking us through?
Retopology and UV mapping and normal map, UV and normal map at the moment. So that's it. That's what we are looking now in the screen.
So this is the final stages essentially of modelling our character Cross-Eyed Joe that you saw Sergi sculpting on a previous episode.
Yes.
Right, as you were.
So yeah, I'm pretty finished with the head. What I'm doing now is I made some some changes in the head, so I had to put it back into 3D code and unwrap again and send it back to Maya to just apply those changes in the UV layout
Mm-hmm.
and triangulate and send the normal project in the normal maps again with X normal, so we will see the cage. I inflate the cage. I save with a special format that handles.
Sorry,
handles.
when you talk about inflating the cage there or expanding the cage, what was that for?
The cage, when you have a cage that it's a projection of the low poly version,
Mm-hmm.
what you do with that is inflating the cage, because maybe depending on your geometry, your high resolution mesh can have different parts that are popping out the geometry,
Okay.
and maybe you cannot project that with the current low poly. So you need to inflate that mesh so that you can take those details that are very far away from the model. So that you need to just unwrap everything, because if
okay.
not, you will have some artifacts in the model when projecting the normal map.
Okay.
So yes, again, maybe I was fixing things because I see the process. It's triangulating and sending back the OBJ, X normal, high resolution, low resolution, 3D viewer, cage, inflate, yes, SVM, send it, project normal map,
So yes, that's the normal map.
and taking the new result. And I think that I had to repeat 2 or 3 times because of the mouth. There were
Mhm.
some artifacts that I didn't like. That's the reason I just took the teeth and put some teeth, because I wanted to see if I will be able to cover that area with the teeth. And here is when I just gave up. No, not gave up, just with the teeth. I didn't like the teeth. We can see King Leon.
You took a break. Took a moment.
Yeah, I just killed myself and
Yeah.
and the second
Reset.
and the second surgery. Oh,
Yeah.
hello, how are you? Nice to meet you.
No, yeah, very good. Welcome.
Yeah. And I just
Are
took,
you an upgrade?
Yeah. No, I don't know. The clones are not good.
Oh shit.
And yes, finally I got the other teeth,
Mm-hmm.
and from King Leon, I removed those ones. I put the other one. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
No, I saw something really disturbing last night that this is reminding me of. Tilda Swinton, is that her name?
Yes.
Tilda Swinton was
Well,
in that
it
movie
is a
that I was
name of
watching,
someone.
Snowpiercer or whatever it was. And at one point she takes her false teeth out, and it is the most repulsive thing when her whole face sort of collapses when she does it.
Fantastic.
And this is very much bringing back that moment.
I'm glad to bring you those memories. So yes, these are the
Sergi
final
upgrade is paying dividends.
teeth.
Okay, there we are, the really horrifying one.
Yeah.
All wireframe.
All wireframe.
We could certainly make a wireframe mode of after the light, right?
Yeah.
Just make sure the characters we switch it over and the characters become wireframe.
Hell
So-
yeah.
It's a wireframe nightmare. So yes, at the moment I think I leave those teeth, but this morning I was decimating those teeth as well.
Mhm.
That
So-
doesn't sound great either.
No, yeah, for me, yeah,
Decimated enough actually.
yeah. So now are more low poly. I think that only the teeth in this moment are 1.8 K triangles.
Mhm.
So I just decimated and made it just 500 or something like that. And here I just
Let's pop his eyeballs in.
yes,
Shove them around.
yeah. I just feel the place with the eyeball, and yeah, we can see that there are gaps and things like that. This will be corrected with the combined model, not this one. It's the same model but combine it later. I will just adjust the geometry in this case to make that we cannot see any hole and anything.
Yeah.
But at the moment it's just a placeholder. Well, it will be the final, but at the moment it's just a placeholder.
So gruesome. I love that. The
So
eyeball
this-
kind of pulling out and stretching.
Yes.
This is why we have that sclera thing in our eye. It's to cover up that hole where the master modeler actually makes when he puts our eyeballs in.
I just
That's terrifying.
duplicate the eyeball, and I'm just applying some slightly texture variations, just color and specular for me, for just more comfortable with that. And we can see, this is the high resolution from ZBrush, and now what I do is ear time.
Because this is going to improve the looks of him.
Yes.
He's going to be
Quite a-
super handsome
Quite
after
a
this.
lot, yeah. It becomes another person
Yeah.
completely.
It's a good looking pair of ears for an ugly man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they still King Leon's ears that we're putting on him? Or are they different ears?
No, these are other ears I had in my
Custom ears?
in my library.
Your library of ears, you sick fuck.
Yeah. You don't know
This
how
is
much.
sounding really, really Hannibal.
Yeah.
In its library, not his fridge.
Oh, well. Tomato, tomato.
Yeah. Yes. Polishing now. Polishing the ear. It's like you feel. I don't know. It's like a summertime. It's something like that. Yeah. This is one example that I made, as you said, Brook, before. Automatic topology with ZBrush, but I had to clean up everything a little bit because the topology was not too good, and then I just made some cleanup.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing now, filling that part of the ear, removing others and changing the loops, and
The ear is not easy, is it? I've found lots of
yeah, it's
YouTube videos online about modelling ears.
mm,
Ears and hands tend to be two things that people get obsessed with trying to model.
yes. I
Better.
will save this one for another because I have the normal maps projected for this one and the position and everything. So yeah, as you can see, there's some modeling stage now, just filling the gaps, and we will project the normal maps for this one. As we finish, what I do here is just small edges in creating some triangles. In this case, because I have more roundness into the ear and not too blocky, more,
Okay.
more rounded or something like that. And yeah, closing some edges and relaxing. Yes. I'm trying to figure out exactly where that edges go, and again I delete again the same edge, and yes, it's I don't like it. No. Again.
So much fun watching yourself go back over your
Yeah.
own
This is-
mistakes, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but this is the good part. This is like as I said, it's like a puzzle.
Yeah,
So you are trying to, yeah, put the pieces and
yeah.
stick together and things like that, and removing some loops that maybe are too much, or
It's turning into a good looking lizard ear.
and this is the final, I think. So now the process, again, I just applying a material. UVs are screwed up completely. So what I do is exporting the OBJ, going to 3D code, make the same process again for the ear. I just delete the default ones and unwrap my my UV for the ear, and seeing a layout that
So that's the
shared.
3D projected to 2D on the right there. And
Yes, you can see on the fly how it's the UV working. Now I have the UVs,
so
I
if you
delete
peel
this
an ear,
material.
that's what it looks like.
and then I make some boring stuff to make it right. Triangulate, sending to X normal, and the same process for the head. High resolution, low resolution, 3D viewer, extrusion of the gauge, tweaking some parameters, sending the SVM. It's a special format, and projecting the normal map for the ear.
It occurs to me people have no idea when they're actually playing a video game just how much work goes into an ear of something.
One ear.
Yeah.
One
It's
fucking
because
ear.
you have it's some kind of mechanism. You have to repeat, rinse and repeat for everything. So you have one thing and you go to this step, to the next step, and so on. So we can see the year with a normal map that looks like a high poly one. At the moment, as I am doing all the pieces separately, I am doing like big 2K texture maps for each piece.
Mhm.
So at the moment it's like the head has a texture map, the ear has a texture map, teeth, body, everything. So that's what what I was doing this morning. That's the UV layout. I'm compressing everything and projecting those original ones to
Mhm.
just a couple of 2K maps, and that will be the final. That step is important because of the GPU and texture management.
Yeah.
and
It's one of the frequent things that slows games down, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
lots and lots of texture maps
Exactly.
can really bog down the performance.
Yeah, it's trying to reduce, and here we can say skeleton soldier. I need something from him. The arm. It's in my library of arms.
Wasn't gonna say
Nah?
creepy AF.
Yes. So yeah,
Almost.
I added in this scene, and I realized that there is a big hole that is because of that bone.
Mhm.
So I just had to make the low poly version for this one because I didn't have anyone in my library. Sadly,
Yeah.
now I have one.
Now you have one.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
This will be the first of too many.
So we could have equally made his shirt sleeve longer. That would have solved that problem as
Yes,
well.
the other arm has the,
Has a longer shirt sleeve,
Yeah.
yeah.
but not in this one. I had to delete that one, and now only use this.
We need to see one elbow,
Yeah, the other one. No, I don't have that one.
and you needed it for your library.
Yes, yes. Now I'm happy. I'm a better person.
Really? You're a bit of something. Bit of body parts collector.
Yeah. It's addictive. It's something. It's an addiction. Just to.
It sounds
collecting
aspirational
parts.
for
Yeah,
you.
Yeah. It's ending the week and thinking, what can I grab today?
Oh.
So yes, and that's the high resolution. As we can see, if we saw the difference in the geometry when I just put
Yeah.
the wireframe mode. We can see the difference between height and low, and I'm just using that.
Stumpy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's
look at
pretty
that.
high poly there.
That's
I like them like that without the forearm. I think that's really quite nasty.
and again,
Waving his little stump around.
so yes, the same process: quad drawing and modeling the bone. In base of that, a decimated version of this bone, because I usually play with 3 different versions of geometry. I usually have a high resolution one, where it's from the sculpt directly. The second one is a decimated one that I just put in here in Maya as a reference for me
Hmm.
to be able to modeling. And the third one is the one that I produce, that is the final one. So I play with 3 different versions of 3 of the same model. Something similar to the proxy from Linda, but you have to add one more into the equation
All right.
and smooth it out, so you have the correct normal information for this piece.
So if we look up his sleeve, we'll see that there's no bone up there.
No,
There's an army up his sleevey. Like Hitler. Where did Hitler keep his armies? Up his sleeveys.
Pun
So, yeah.
time.
you
Well,
mapping,
laugh.
just cutting, cutting, or cutting, and doing the UV for this one. Again, this is just a single piece with a single texture 2K map just for him at the moment, and that's what in UV layout stage that it's where I'm working today, and I'm recording it as well. So we will see how to put all of these maps into one single map. So that will be more like an optimization.
Is that on this
process.
movie, or is that on one you're currently filming?
Currently filming.
Currently filming that one. Okay, so we will revisit this, just so we can get the rest of the story there. Yeah, the UV map texturing process, I think, is really, well, for me, it's intriguing.
I really love it. I really like this part. It's
Yeah, and it's where your model really starts to come to life when you've actually applied the textures to it.
because it's half technical, half artistic, I think. Because you need a model that has to be optimized for a game, but at the same time, obviously, you are making some kind of character or doll or something that will be alive, ironically, in this case.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's normal again. This is one of my preferred tools. It's a free tool and it makes wonders. It sounds great as well. And we can project the normal map again using the high resolution, low resolution, 3D viewer. There it is. Cage. Extrude the cage. Save. Tweaking some things, and there it is. I remove the decimated version and I project the high resolution into this piece. Adjust the lighting a little bit, not the lighting, the specularity of the material, just for me, and I move to the next piece, that is the upper body. In this case, the upper body it's something similar to the skeleton soldier, because this model has the suspenders. So in this case, the suspenders will be added into the normal map, will be done as a separate piece. So this just for saving geometry. In this case, I decided to make something similar with the skeleton soldier. So as we can see in the current upper torso, we don't see the suspenders.
Yep.
This decimated version is with no suspenders, but we will use this one and the suspenders, and we will project all together to this geometry.
Okay.
So I first, as usual, I start with the main loops, closing the loops, making the different parts, and move on, relaxing, always relax. And extruding the edges, and keep working on that, on the arm, on shoulder. And yeah, looking for the symmetry. This is perfectly symmetrical, but not for the, I don't know the name of this.
Arm?
No, fabric part.
Sleeve?
Sleeve. Thank you. Thank you so much. The sleeve part is the only thing asymmetrical. And that small little tiny parts from the fabric, I modeled these small things just in that area, so that we can see that detail in the model itself, not just a transparency map or anything. So I thought that this was an interesting area to show, because it's big enough for the model. We can see it following the path a little bit and generating it. So closing all the remaining faces and move to the asymmetrical part of the sleeve after this part.
So when we put the texture map onto that area with the torn around the shirt, can we actually make that look rougher or more torn or more fragmented using transparency and stuff?
Yes, with texture we can make that something similar I made with the skeleton soldier. So I started just torn apart the fabric a little bit and play with textures to make like there is something inside, but it's just texture and just painted.
Yeah.
Didn't want to put too many complexity in the original geometry, because I know that this is one of the generic zombies, so we will see some of those guys in the screen at the same time. So I was thinking in just not to overload too much with polygons. That's one of the interesting things about the modeling stage. You have to think carefully what models you can spend more and put more triangles or quads into those models, and what other models maybe you just don't try to push too much.
So your distribution isn't just over the one zombie; it's over the whole cast of characters.
Yeah, as this one, for example, in my category, mental category is a generic zombie. So I try always to stay at the 7,000 triangles, more or less, 7K, 6, 7, 8. Linda told me something about King Leon here, and yes, I try to stay at that match. The difference with King Leon is a boss, so we can push more for that boss, and because there is only him in the screen. So that's the difference. You just try to see how to make that, how to put more polygons. It's a fact that today's standard, it doesn't worry too much how many polygons you use, unless you go completely nuts, crazy, putting millions of triangles or hundreds or thousands.
Just might open that door or turn on the air conditioner. I'm actually nodding off here and missing it.
I'll do it if you like.
Not okay, yeah. Not good to be the presenter on your show and nodding off.
So yeah, that's what I think. That's it. So today's standards technology allows to put some more faces and things like that in the geometry.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing with the hair and the cross eyes. That's my.
Cross-eyed Joe isn't quite cross-eyed without his eyeballs.
Yeah.
So Cross-eyed Joe is actually he's the sniffer zombie, isn't he? Is he the sniffer zombie?
No, that's the other one, Jack the accountant, remember? Jack the accountant.
Jack the accountant.
It's the other one that it has a school. It's one of the generic zombies. With,
okay.
You've seen Jack the accountant.
Oh yeah, that's right, because he's got the skin across the top of his face but nothing on his nose.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. It's not Cross-eyed Joe. So Cross-eyed Joe is... Oh, that's right. Cross-eyed Joe wasn't actually in the original lineup of zombies, but we saw some concept art that Lincoln had done and we thought, okay, we've got to have that guy because that guy just looks the part. Yeah, so the other guy's the sniffer zombie. So
it's in fact, Cross-eyed Joe is the background of the Twitch channel when
yes,
no
he is.
broadcast.
He's on our marketing for After the Light, so he is the background. Yes, and that was where he was going to stay until we actually thought, hey, we need that zombie actually coming towards you. We need to shoot that guy.
Not literally.
As we can see in X normal,
literally.
The suspenders are in the high resolution mesh, and I'm projecting now the details with the suspenders. So we will see now applied. And we will see.
So there's these buttons and suspenders that have been applied. Oh, he's got a tie. No, that's suspenders at the back.
Yeah. No, not tie.
I was going to say he's gone all formal on us. No, you turned him around. So this is the back, looking at the suspenders. But at the front we saw not only the suspenders appear on him, but also the shirt buttons.
Looks like one of those fucking awful t-shirts that has a tie and jacket lapels on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, here I just creased some edges because in the other model I just smoothed out everything, forgot a couple of things on the bottom. And as we can see, well, we will not see it, but there is something missing in the normal map. So I just make sure to put this high resolution mesh with this fixer.
Oh, somebody said, awesome, mate. Excellent.
Oh, thank you.
That was Baconimus? Boconimus? Can't quite read it with my glasses, but thank you. Okay, so
yeah,
you've got a fan there, Sergi.
Right. I'm famous now.
Yeah.
So,
Now you need to double your speed.
but I'm the clone, not the original.
Well, all the more reason
And
to
maybe I will
lift
die
your
tomorrow.
game.
I will die tomorrow, and another clone will replace me.
Oh, better be good.
Yeah.
And we're not getting enough time on the front of that shirt because we sort of had it there. Yeah, there we are, the buttons and the...
Yes, I just made sure
And the
about
shirt.
getting the buttons as well and in the high poly.
So on our low poly version of the zombie, these things are not geometry. They're just projected from the geometry on the high poly.
Yes, but as you can see, there are parts of the suspenders that I didn't project.
Yeah.
Because those are on top of the pants, so I use the same trick as with the skeleton soldier. I just use another model to put on top.
Yeah. So essentially doing a little piece of the thing rather than the whole thing, and just blending it in with the texture.
Yes,
Yeah.
it saves on geometry. So now we have the final normal map for the upper torso.
And there go the eyes.
Yeah.
Not so much cross-eyed as chameleon.
Chameleon-eyed Joe.
And now it's the turn for the small thing of the suspenders.
I keep wanting to tap my foot whenever I say his name. Where do you come from? Cross-eyed Joe.
Cross-eyed Joe.
Joe.
Where do you come from? Where do you go?
Indeed, that's the song.
Mm-hmm.
We should get him to do the song.
I used to hear a lot that song in Taranaki, because Taranaki is the same style more or less.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
You mean it's a bluegrass country, or it's a zombie country?
More or less.
Yeah.
Hello to our viewers in Taranaki.
There is actually bluegrass happening in Taranaki. I know this.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you were part of a bluegrass band at one stage, weren't you? Did
I
you get
was.
invited up there?
No.
Oh.
No, they've got enough bluegrass
Utter
going
bastards.
on all on their own. I don't need any of that sick New Zealand Christchurch bluegrass.
This
That's one of the weird stories about Margaret. I don't know if you've heard, but she actually went with a band to perform bluegrass in the United States, but it was Kiwi bluegrass.
They loved it.
They did love it.
Or they're just really, really polite, because Americans are super polite compared with Kiwis.
You're on television. I gather you had to have some skills.
Yeah.
I used to hear that British are the more polite.
Really?
British, yeah.
The British?
Yes, that's.
Yeah, maybe. The Americans are very polite, though. It's very nice. They say please and thank you and excuse me, and they get
And
up.
sir and ma'am.
And they stand up for older people on the bus, and yeah.
And Canadian tend to say a lot of thank you all the time.
Do they?
Yeah.
Cool.
Eh?
Eh? That's Australian though.
No,
And
Oh,
bugger,
eh?
bugger is Australian, right? Bugger. When you say
Oh yeah, Australians use bugger all the time. We don't really.
No, it's Australian. I think it's a Kiwi thing.
it's cute. I used to
It's
hear
not cute.
Australian.
Like usual.
You fucking Australians just want
Like
everything.
bands and
don't you?
actors, you're just
Far
borrowing
lap
it
and
from
crowded
Australia.
house and just, just take the lot. Why don't you? Pavlova.
We're a country of convicts. We just steal stuff.
Yeah, no shit.
Australia and New Zealand are very far away from everything, so
Yeah.
nobody will blame them.
We just duke it out in the South Pacific, yeah. But Australia doesn't care what New Zealand thinks anyway, so.
Interesting, you guys never try to claim Russell Crowe.
Oh, Russell Crowe,
Oh,
Australian.
fuck
right?
me.
Yeah.
Running.
He had problems with Australian government, right? Russell Crowe, something like that.
I don't know, he had problems with the drugs and the alcohol and the throwing telephones at people.
A part of that. Those are minor things.
Yeah. Business as usual.
So now it's after the boring part of the suspenders. Now it's time for the pants, I think.
Right, okay. So we're putting wrinkles in his pants here.
Camel toe.
Now I'm.
I'm sorry.
What?
I was trying to think of all the reasons there couldn't be a camel toe because he's a guy and all the rest of it. But yeah, you're quite right. Things could have withered away. You don't know what things are like
I'm going to assume.
inside his pants there.
Wow. No.
But that doesn't look
only
like a
Sergi
camel toe.
knows
Yeah.
what's inside his pants at this point.
Nothing. It's a void. It's just.
It's a void.
Pitch black.
He is only his pants at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pitch black completely.
Oh, just a gaping, sucking black hole.
Yes.
Wow. We lost a viewer over that one.
Did we?
He
Oh,
was-
we upset somebody? Oh, God.
Was easily offended by the camel toe.
So yes, methodology, loops, and all again.
Mhm. Working on the buttocks here.
Yes, I just try to
Another gaping void.
to make this a beautiful part to see.
That's the money shot.
That's the funny shot.
Now,
Right there.
buttocks, of course, when you're dead, are very quick to disappear. So
Yeah.
Oh,
you would have.
you say that as though they're sort of
Bones
differentiated
should be-
from the rest of you.
But I don't have enough asses in my library.
But buttocks do, because they are quite thick and chunky, they do tend to disappear faster, percentage-wise, than
Yeah.
the rest of the.
That doesn't make any sense at all. I don't see why they should disintegrate at a higher rate than anything else.
Because they've got more stuff to actually dehydrate, I guess.
But that doesn't make sense. Anyway, how the fuck do you know?
So fingers, for example, nothing much changes on a finger for a while because there's not much flesh actually there.
I don't know that that's true, but
Buttocks, they just
but
sort
I
of
do
collapse.
know a tame undertaker who will confirm or deny that quite clearly.
But
Yes.
I
if you-
don't
but
care to think about how you know
if
that.
if you cannot make asses in this profession, then life doesn't make sense.
I did human biology at university, so
So
we could actually.
I know an undertaker. I'm going to go with him.
Okay. But he only gets to see them for a few days.
Oh
so
fuck no!
so
people
they
die
don't
and
hang
get-
around on his table for a year or more.
No, they don't hang around on his table. They get exhumed and found months after they've been murdered or killed themselves or whatever. People don't just die tidily and wait for you for a couple of days,
Oh, fair
or
enough.
die tidily and ring the undertaker. Oh god, no, that's the money shot.
I was expecting this part to appear.
Watching how quickly
No,
viewers
no,
are
the viewers
disappearing
will
from
increase.
our
Look,
channel.
look.
Oh yes, right on time.
We need more of this.
You were looking forward to that, but you were like, fuck.
Now I'm closing the void.
Okay.
The black hole or
Yeah,
the pitch black zone.
the zone.
The zone, the twilight zone.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And we're back to the money shot. There's a lot of detail in there, isn't there, Sergi?
yes,
There's
yes, yes.
a lot of time
just,
to be spent.
Yeah, I was just enjoying a little bit. The
Yeah, I can see that. I'm getting that vibe.
part.
Maybe a little too much, Sergi.
Okay.
No.
So we've decided on the green check with multicoloured legs for
Disco.
This is,
disco
yeah,
zombie.
This is the 70s effect.
Yeah. Actually, those are kind of 80s colours, though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess they are.
Fusion.
So we're actually doing something with the texture maps here again. So
It's UV mapping, basically.
what do the pink and the blue actually signify there, Sergi?
It's a way to differentiate between UV islands. So UV islands are the chunks of models that you.
Okay, so there's so that you can tell by looking at the blue there, you've got a blue island on
Yes.
the right, so you can see what's mapped to that leg and what's mapped to the other leg.
Exactly.
So you don't get confused, I gather.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. So you can differentiate between the same model, some kind of polygrouping as well. So you can differentiate between those groups
Okay.
and projecting. So this is the final step for the panels. So I'm projecting the normal maps as well. It's the same with X normal, extruding or inflating.
Inflating the
I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say it. But yeah, and yeah, so we can see.
That's the normal map
Yeah,
to be applied to the pants, so that'll form the basis for the wrinkles, and
yeah, and we'll see. There it is. That's the final.
there it is.
Shiny.
Shiny pants. And now I'm just with the layers. I'm just putting the different. I started here with the shoes, but
With
the
a
shoes,
lovely pair of shoes.
Yes, but they were done this morning, so I think this is close the end of the video
Yeah.
because this is what I was doing yesterday evening. Yes, I think that we can see for this part of the show.
We've still got a few minutes to go on the video, so we must see something to do with the shoes there. So what are you doing with the shoes here? Looks like you're
Same old.
remodeling. Are you producing a low poly version of the shoes here?
Yes, so we can see more modeling here for the shoes and yeah. No, there is no normal map for this one. It's only this same shape. I only play with soften and harden edges.
Yeah.
To make the normals behave like I want, and that's it. It doesn't need any.
And that's typical when we're doing models for video games or models for movies. Basically, you tend to concentrate your efforts on the things that are most likely to be seen. And we're not going to spend a lot of time looking at his shoes. We're going to be focused on his face and blasting away with our
Focus.
weapons. Focused on his face.
Bring back the focus.
Bring back, yes. We need the focus.
Yeah.
Everybody focus on the model.
In fact, it's a little different in movies. I've noticed, and it's something that annoys me in movies, and maybe something they shouldn't do so much of, is the amount of time on screen seems to determine how much time you put into the character. And I watched Scrooge, where the voice was done by Jim Carrey, and beautiful model for Scrooge, absolutely beautiful, with the aged face and the mould with the hairs growing out of it, all that sort of stuff. Really good detail and all the rest of it. And there is one of the characters he meets in there who's, to be fair, he's only on the screen for like 8 or 9 seconds. He's not there for long, but there's an instant disconnect for me. I looked at that. The willing suspension of disbelief sort of evaporated because this guy was so smooth and had so little detail that I just no longer found the movie believable.
Yes.
So I think sometimes it doesn't matter if it's going to be on screen just for 10 seconds. You really need to make some effort and put in enough detail so that people continue to believe in it.
It's the first impact you get on your eyes.
Yeah.
So that's very important. So yes.
Yeah.
So I think. Yeah, that's a high poly. That's pretty similar to the low poly.
But less so in video games where you're actually choosing a point of view, and the point of view is actually controlled a bit by the game. So we actually tend to make it so that you have to pay attention to the zombie, or you're going to get killed by it. You have to pay attention to this, so you can ignore some stuff that you're not actually looking at a lot. And certainly, shoes and boots, we wouldn't be spending a great deal of time at. You've got to be a pretty cool character if you're up there with your rifle and the zombie comes towards you and go, hey, cool boots.
Exactly. For the original sculpt, I used one of the shoes in my library.
Okay.
So this is not an organic thing, so it was not as fun as the other.
No.
Okay.
No, well, your non-organic library couldn't possibly have the same.
It's not the same taste.
No, it's not the same at all, is it really?
Well, that seems to have brought us to the end of our movie.
Brought us to a screaming halt.
The end of our show, so end of today's stream. So thank you for joining, everybody. That was Sergi teaching us or showing us the rest of the development of Cross-Eyed Joe after the sculpt, which we saw last week. Not sure what we're doing tomorrow. I keep making predictions and getting them wrong, so maybe I'll just stop guessing. So Brook, Margaret and Sergi from Stickmen Media saying goodbye, and we'll catch you at 1 PM New Zealand time tomorrow. Thank you. And now find where that mouse
now
got
find
to.
the off switch.
You have to hold the
I do this
smile.
every day, every single day. Stop.
Then,
There we go. And stop.